Hello everyone and welcome to The Time Gaming. Have you enjoyed your journey in the coolest? If you are still indecisive or just starting out, I've gathered deck recipes from our contributors so you can start out even with only cards from BS60. This time it will be Gold Cloud from yours truly. In our first look video, I mentioned that Gold Cloud is all about possibility, as the deck involves lots of random factors when building your resources. They said random factors limit your options when building your deck, but you are still left with a very solid pool to work with. The deck is still pretty fragile. I find it the hardest to fight against Scorchio to Trash since most of my cards will be committed to my spirits. But against other removals, it can respond pretty quickly. You can definitely use Green Snipe approach, swarming your opponent with multiple attacks once your resource is ready. I personally prefer to just play aggressively and attack whenever you have an opening, as current decks can make big moves with a limited amount of course. And the fewer life your opponent has means the less setup you will need in your actual finishing turn. No matter which strategy you are going for, one of the most important things is to get yourself to 6 counters as soon as possible, since it will give you access to the Phoenix Princess, make defending with Crested Griffon easier, and unlock the stronger effects of the Sanctified Light. With the contract mechanic, you will definitely get one copy of Vanille in your starting hand. She is the centerpiece of your deck that you will need to protect at all costs, since she is your main draw and counter engine. Having Vanille on your field will also let you play Sanctified Light at a lower cost when your counter reaches 6. If you go first, you can opt to summon another Pentan or deploy the Terran Hill to gain 1 counter to ensure that Vanille can use her effect on the second turn to get you to 3 counters, thus unlocking Crested Griffon. With only 4 cards, you will not have access to your contract descent cards if Vanille got destroyed on the opposing first turn. So the only way to guarantee having Vanille on the field is to not let her be removed in the first place. However, if going second, Vanille is definitely your first option. I employed lots of cost 2 spirits so you can summon them with Vanille on your first turn going second to begin your aggression. Club Panda helped to shut down opposing Nexus effects, while Pum is probably not something your opponent would want to remove early, helping you to get at least 1 damage in. Subsequently, in the following turn, you would want to play Mizua, Marikatsu, and etc. to help increase your counter, as again, getting to 6 counters open up possibilities for faster kills. While her overcount is definitely very strong and can end the game, the Phoenix Princess mainly works as your extender to get your partner bird back on the field and gives you 4 cards, so you should not worry too much if your opponent destroys your Phoenix Princess. My main strategy is beatdown, so there are no definitive endgame turns. But if Vandal survives in your second turn, your condition to win early is to increase the number of your attacks with Club Panda, Farciel, Crescent Griffon, or even the Phoenix Princess if you had Mizuo. Otherwise, a solid game ending turn for me would be to have Farciel's effect online to stop attack step ending effect, Mizuo to steal Nexus effect, and Sanctified Light being played safely. You will still be vulnerable to some defensive mechanics, such as This Glory and Mass Destruction Burst, so getting your opponent's life to as low as possible will reduce the burden on your finishing turn. Making the correct attack order in this deck is important, as it affects the number of attacks you can make. Not to mention, it can also be affected by how your opponent will react against it. It's really crucial to prepare the right number of cards and give yourself flexibility in terms of derivative actions from an attack. Clapenda, Crested Griffin, and the Phoenix Princess are some examples for that. Clapenda and Crested Griffin can summon other spirits while attacking, while the Phoenix Princess requires cards to use a magic immediately. So often, you would want to attack with them later on the attack step because you have more spare cards to use after attacking with your other spirit. With the nature of contract cards and soul state, the partner bird panel can attack first or last depending on the contract design cards in your hand. If you have Crested Griffin, you might want to attack with panel last to also make use of Griffin's overcount when attacking. On the other hand, if it's partial, you might want to attack with panel early so that you will not waste an attack before resummoning panel with partials when design effect. One more example scenario considers the bird spirit card view still. With it activating when your spirit is destroyed or bound, you might want to attack with panel early, leading to the opponent more likely to destroy the other spirits, which can enter Soul State, being the perfect trigger to activate Fusetail. For Nexuses, I put in both the Ruin of Soaring Wings and the Terran Hill. Both of them help you to increase your counters, while Ruin of the Soaring Wings gives you the option to draw. The Terran Hill could make opposing removal less harmful. However, in general, you should not focus on deploying them, as they will use up cards meant to keep your aggression. You can consider deploying them if you think that the game will continue to your turn 4 or later. For defense, I mainly use Burst Wall because I play aggressively and I would want to conserve my cards on my spirit. If you play more conservatively, you can consider playing other defensive cards like Diamond Wall or Everyone Nil in this slot. Being non-Gold Cloud cards, they might fail Vandal's effect. If you are confident that the Crested Griffin will be enough to handle the opponents in your circle, you can opt to play more Gold Cloud cards instead. Cloudy Blow in a way is a defensive card, but as it effectively only stops one attack in a pretty small range of 7000 BP, it might not be as reliable as similar cards such as Sis Glory. Instead, once you reach 6 counters, as a defensive card, it allows you to descend into Crested Griffin and remove opposing spirits or a Phoenix Princess to summon more blockers. And I think you have noticed that I mentioned descending into the Phoenix Princess during an opposing turn as a way to increase your blocker. Cloudy Blow allows you to perform the contact descent on eligible spirit regardless of the timing. So during your main step, you can use it to descend into Partial or Crested Griffin to get your final back into the field as well. Lastly, Sanctified Light is your killer card as it stops your opponent from playing most cards and stop their spirits and ultimate from blocking. In some situations, it can act as a defensive, as during the opposing turn, it can shut down effects that can increase their number of attacks, such as Radiant Descent, Change, and the infamous Arcade Gundam. I've been playing with the deck a lot and have been enjoying each one with it. I do think on its own it can already offer you plenty of experiences, but if you want to experiment, you can try out some of these cards. First one is the new generation of the cutest general Magoichi, Apprentice of Obsidian, which comes from BSC 39. Even though it's not a Gold Cloud Spirit, Magoichi can add herself with her effect to your hand when refilled by Final's effect. If you choose to play conservatively, having a pair of Magoichi will ensure that you will gain one counter and one card in your hand every turn. Second is the Yellow Astral Spirit Regen Huanglong from PS57. With how fast Final can increase your counter and getting to 6 counter being a big part of your strategy, you will definitely be able to pull out its counter break. Not only does it serve as your third Sanctified Light, but having 2 symbols and the ability to refresh itself allows it to help you to win without using other cards in your hand. Lastly, we have the Reset Sphere from BS54. Having 4 armor counters, which is easy to achieve in this deck, will remove all non-yellow cards from the field, opening ways for your spirit to attack or shutting down opposing attack. However, its cost is still high, even higher than Sanctified Light, and the deck doesn't have a reliable way to increase your cores, so you should avoid bringing too many if you choose to. So to summarize, the Gold Cloud is a solid choice because waifus... Wait, I think I read the wrong script. Gold Cloud is a solid choice because it is able to maintain aggression with a pretty wide range in number of turns to finish the game. It has a solid pull that pretty much fulfill all the main needs of the deck, and it uses magic as one of its definitive win conditions, which allows you to win with a pretty minimum setup. And things that you need to prepare for are, the main draw engine requires you to bring as many Gold Cloud cards as possible, so you need to account for the risk when running non-Gold Cloud cards. You will commit your cores to your spirits most of the time, so you will be vulnerable to core to trash, and it will be harder to play non-spirit permanents such as Nexuses and Mirages. Lastly, zero counters. Unless you have played your Sanctified Light, it is definitely something that you will need to be careful about and play around. Will you or have you taken Final Stand in your journey to Legolas? Do share your thoughts and experience in the comments below. I personally found it a very pleasant experience, so I hope you will too. That has been everything from me, Tirolu, your host, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye bye!